Welcome to probably the first video on my channel. This is gonna be mainly for my review, me looking back at my studies or revisions that I've done. And so basically, what I want is for me to have my own kind of understanding and to teach what I understood and basically a summarized version of the YouTuber or teacher, Professor Leonard. If you want to go ahead and check out his channel out. He got on Calculus 1 32 different videos, and each one is like an hour or more. So my thing is I want to summarize some points and the same examples that he got on his video. I want to do basically replicate his lesson in a different way so you guys could understand. Uh, if some of you might understand more from me or just my summarized version, if you want to revise what he got to teach. So, it's my first time doing any sort of video, doing this type of video, so I might suck pretty much at it, but hey, I'm just doing it for me, honestly, and hopefully if anyone sees this, it's my first video, and yeah, so let's get to it. So basically, the video is gonna be stretched out, or not the video, but each lesson is gonna be stretched out um to where there's going to be parts, every part of the lecture that Professor Leonard got. Every part, like for example, this is lesson 0 for him, and the part 1 indicates that, okay, he has three main things to focus on the lesson today, which are lines, angle of inclination, and distance formula. So each part I'm gonna make a separate video, you know, explaining it and just summarizing. Just I hope to give you just the most summarized version. Now I've been talking so much, and that's mainly because I want to introduce my channel. So yeah, I've never done this type of thing. I know that I could explain and just really go in depth, but I don't got the time to do that. I'm reviewing, uh, honestly, to refresh my memory before I go back to college. Um, so yeah, here's now it's gonna be part one. In part one, okay, my by the way, I apologize if my handwriting is bad or not suitable to your style or anything like that. So yeah, new to this and all, especially new to the digital typing. So yeah, let's get into it real fast. So this lesson is gonna be, or this part is gonna be part one. Actually, let's uh, go ahead and zoom pretty much real close and just make sure that we're close enough. Okay, so this is part number one, is gonna be about lines. Okay, I'm not gonna keep saying it. My handwriting may suck to some people, and it actually sucks. I didn't practice much handwriting for the past 10 months or so, or didn't write much. So that's why. Let's get into the lesson again. So, about lines, okay? We have, remember, three parts: lines, angle of inclination, and distance formulas. Each one got its own video, okay? So, I'm gonna go, because we're summarizing here, I'm gonna go for formulas. So, let's get into it. So, formulas, right? he, he basically explains that there's three different formulas, right? The first formula, it's mainly four, or like four in general, but let's name them, okay? The first one is slope, right? We're going on revision before even getting into calculus. That's the lecture 0 is all about. So slope equals rise over run. That's the first kind of thing to know slash formula. The second one, okay, I messed up somewhere something. Okay, I'm back. I don't know what's up with this, honestly. Okay, the second formula is um, again slope, which you can define as m. So I'm gonna write here m this time instead of slope. So m equals, you have y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's second, or technically the first. Both of them basically mean the same. It's just uh, this, you just need to understand that rise over run. The top one is the rise, which is the y-axis, and the bottom, or the denominator, is run, which is x-axis. Okay, anyways, third uh, formula is point slope. Okay, I'm gonna write it just like so, point slope. Okay, or you can this equation, okay, is basically y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. And lastly, the fourth one, I said mainly 3 because the first and the second are basically the same. It's just first isn't really much of a formula, more of understanding. So yeah, the fourth formula is the slope intercept, or y-intercept. You could say that. I'm gonna type it out right now. I don't need to write the whole slope intercept thing. So I'm gonna write it out as y equals mx plus b, where b is the constant, m is the slope, and x and y are just points, in which they would give you a point like x and y, and you would find the slope and everything from that. Hope, I really do hope that it isn't affecting you. Uh, I think so. This is basically a summarized version, just basically the summary of a summary, or the summary of an explanation. So yeah, let's get into the next part. Okay, so here's the example that he mentioned in his video, where you got to find the equation through points -2, -3, and 8, 2. Okay, obviously, the first thing you gotta do is just name them x1, y1, x2, y2, right? Because basically, you want to find uh, the slope, right? So you got those 2 points, you got the slope. Mainly, I'm gonna write the formulas, like the basic formulas with purple, and also just the points and some stuff, you know. Anyways, so uh, as we mentioned, the slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So you got to use that as to replace the points and solve for the slope. In which, let's go ahead and actually solve. Let's just, say that this is the answer part. Okay, so you get your 2 points. Okay, so let's go ahead and graph it, or not graph it, but plug in the points. So y2 is 2, and then negative, and y1 is -3, so -3. You know that basically 2 negative and then negative is positive, so at least positive, right? And then you got zero point 0.8 negative, or minus -2, which again is plus basically. And that's how you get m equals 2 plus 3 is 5 over, and 8 plus 2 is 10. So 5 over 10, or you could say that m equals 1 over 2. So that's basically the answer for finding the slope or finding the equation to get the slope and everything. And if you want to graph it, you could simply graph it by, let's go ahead and graph it real quick, just a quick one. I hope I'm doing, I think I need a better, let's say a better thing, right? And you can, I'm not gonna even go through with naming points and like that. I'm just gonna uh probably two, like the distance between this is 2 and this is 4 and so on. Um yeah, I'm just gonna do that real quick. Okay, even this if needed. But yeah, so you basically start with the first point, which is -2, -3, which is -2 on the axis. This is 2, and then -3 is going to be here. And the second point is going to be 8 and 2. So 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, so 8 and then 2. So here's the second point. And remember, rise over run. That's why I said it's not kind of a formula, it's more of understanding. This is rise, and this is run. Okay, so rise, that means up 1 and then go 2. So again, I'm gonna do that with the blue now. So rise, that's 1, and then go 2, and then another 1, then go another 2, another 1, another 2, another 1, another 2, then lastly another 1, another 2, right? That's the slope if you want. Draw the line that connects them both. I'm not gonna be doing that really, but just this part is just proving that the slope actually matches and that you're correct. That the slope is half or a rise over run, so you go up by 1, go um, to the right 2, right? And here's the thing also he mentions is that the slope always gonna go to the right side no matter what. If you got your um, rise negative or run is negative, when you got the denominator is negative, it goes to like upwards. So basically the -2 becomes -1 over 2, right? So always it could go up and down, but it can only go right. It cannot go left with the um, slope, right? And one more thing he mentions that, for example, you want to find, if they ask you to find the slope intercept, that's if they give you 1 point, or you could just use 1 point. Okay, I'm gonna go through it real quick, hopefully real quick. That's what I intend to. Okay, finding slope intercept. I'm just going over it real quickly. That's why my handwriting is not gonna be as efficient and like as good. Okay, so remember the one of the equations. If I go up here, this this the slope intercept, which is the fourth one, is y equals, or not the fourth but third one actually, the point slope is y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. You just gonna got to plug in that. So basically, let's give you like for you guys to see, to understand a little bit more. Okay, so y minus y1 equals, I'll probably have to remove this. I don't know why I typed that. Y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. Right, that's for the slope, the point slope, or to get the slope intercept, you use this. Okay, what you also know is that m is rise over run half. Okay, so basically what you want to do is to let me just do it for you. To plug in the numbers, okay, where y1 and x1 are the points, and let's say either you get your own point uh, from the slope equation or all of that, or they give you 1 point, or you use 1 point basically. Let's use, as he used, the point, which point it is, it's -2 and -3. So -2, -3. That's x1, that's y1. Okay, so let's plug it in, shall we? Y minus -3 equals, now m is half, so half, and then multiplied by x minus, and then what's x1 is -2. Okay, so that's gonna be it really. And then you just go ahead, solve for y, because you want the slope intercept, in which it is basically the like the y-intercept. Okay, I'm just gonna go over it as quickly as possible. Again, I don't want to make you spend so much time. Okay, at least it's somewhat summarized. It's less length than the actual thing, the actual YouTube video. So yeah, let's go ahead and summarize it now. So it's gonna be y plus 3 equals half x plus 2, right? Because plus and then plus. And then it's gonna be, again, let's go over it to the right side. You're gonna first distribute these, okay? After distribution, it's gonna be remaining the left side the same, y plus 3 equals, now when you distribute half x, and then 1 multiplied by 2 is 2, 2 over 2 is 1. So half x plus 1, right? And then you want to solve for y again. Okay, so -3 or -3 goes with that. Let's bring this back right here, and let's y equals half x plus, or at this point it's -2. Okay, now what does this resemble? That's the thing that I want to ask you. What does this formula resemble? It resembles the equation y equals mx plus b. That's the fourth equation, okay? And that's basically the slope intercept, the equation for that, okay? So if you just, b is the y-intercept, m is the, here I'm gonna do, let's just do a quick thing where b is circled and m is boxed out, right? So this is slope and this is y-intercept, -2, with the negative sign, of course. So if you want to, I guess, draw it, what you will do, uh, first of all, this is basically finished. Now you're done with the finding slope intercept. You got that. This is the final answer for that, right? Um, if you want to, let's see, if you want to point it out, you could, real quick, let's just do it anywhere, really. Okay. Let's go ahead and point y-intercept. What's y-intercept? As we said, b is y-intercept and it's -2. This is -2, or let's say -1, -2, right? This is -2, and this is the y-intercept. Y-intercept. And it could be counted as the slope intercept, because uh, the slope intercept, that means the slope passes through this point throughout like the slope. So if, for example, if the slope is like that, it passes through this point, it's the slope intercept. So yeah, you have that. I'm just stating the facts right here. This is the y-intercept and slash the slope intercept. Now let's go on for the next example that he mentioned. Now here's one more example from the example that is mentioned in the video. So here it's saying we have a binomial, okay, or so, uh, right here, and they tell us solve for y. What they're basically telling us is get the slope intercept, because slope intercept, it's y equals mx plus b. Okay, when they're saying solve for y, that means y equals something. Okay, and obviously there's two different unknown variables, which are x and y, right? And yeah, you just got to solve for that and get the y, only y, okay, on one side. So again, let's go ahead and solve it real quick as we try as quick as possible. So originally you got 4x plus 2y minus 3 equals 0. Okay, now obviously first step you got to plus 3 on each side. That would make it so that 4x plus 2y equals 3. And obviously you're gonna go ahead and solve for y. Here's the thing, okay? To do it, you got two ideas. Let's erase this for now. You got two different perspectives you can do. Both correct, both you can do whatever. Okay? It's either by adding 3 on both sides, then the subtracting 4x from both sides to get what it would result as negative 4x plus 3 equals 2y, and then you divide y by 2 and you get the y on its own, and yeah, and you simplify that. Or you can go another way, which is, let me real quick show you the other way, and I'm actually gonna do the other way around. Okay, both correct, you can do both, is by subtracting 2y from both sides. Okay, because you just need to subtract, it would be less steps, you know. So it's gonna be 4x plus, actually let's just use the blue. Okay, it's gonna be 4x plus, um or actually minus 3. Okay, 4x minus 3 equals negative 2y. Now, as he said, a lot of people are kind of like, oh, negative 2y and all of that. They're just stressing it out and fussing over it. So, what you basically need to do is negative 2 divided by negative 2 for all sides. When you do like when you divide and you see the division line is through all the equation on that side, like 4x minus 3, it's basically telling you that, okay, let me remove this. It's basically telling you to divide this by negative 2 and divide the other term by negative 2 also, which is, if you go ahead and do this, simplify it, it's going to be negative 2x um, plus what? Plus 2 or whatever, plus 3 over 2. I'm just going fast over it, not trying to explain much, although I just do poor job at not explaining by just explaining. Okay, and then this side, obviously the negative 2 removed, that means y. Now we can clean that up just a little bit more, so just rearranging it to look like y equals mx plus b, okay, which is gonna be negative 2x plus 3 over 2, okay. Now this, okay, this right here what does it resemble? It resembles y equals mx plus b. Okay, it exactly resembles it, in which this is the y-intercept and this is the slope, or this part at least. The -2 is the slope. Okay, now that's it for solving for, you know, the slope intercept. And if you want to graph it, I mean, you probably know 3 over 2 is 1.5, right? So realistically, y equals -2x plus 1.5. If you graph that, it's going to be something like so, okay? And -2 is the slope, 1.5 is thing. So here's 1, here's 2, okay, 1, 2. This is negative, or 1.5. This is the slope intercept or the y-intercept, both like that. So this is the point. That's it. You're done. If you want to score some extra points, you could go ahead and use the slope to complete and finish the line off. The slope is -2. -2, obviously, rise over run. What's the denominator of any number is 1, except 0. I mean, that's, you know. So, so what they're saying is to go down because rise over run. So you go down by 2. Okay. Let's real quick. Okay. So that's 1. Here's 1. Okay. Here's down by 1, and then down by 2 is gonna be here, where it's here's. Let me just do that. -1. Okay. Okay. So that's -2 and to the rise, and then the run, which is 1. So let's go ahead and build this up. 1, 2, right? And that's the run. So here's the new point that has been made. And then you could complete drawing each line and just getting a much accurate line if you want to draw one. And yeah, those steps are unnecessary if you just got this to this part. Yeah, if you just got to this part, you're all done with the slope intercept. Now this video is turning more and more uh, into what I didn't want it to be, which is basically the same length as what Professor Leonard calculus lesson or lecture is. So I don't have much time. I'm gonna try. This is my first video, as I said. It's my first ever time doing this type of thing, so bear with me. And at least this first video, I guess I'm gonna post it. It's gonna be almost the same time as the original one. So you got, I guess, two different perspectives. One is the teacher and one is the student. Basically, I'm his student, basically, and I'm trying to get a different, uh, understanding to you. Okay. So, in his video, he mentioned both parallel and perpendicular lines, right? So, basically, I'm gonna just say it. Parallel lines are lines that have the same exact slope, whereas perpendicular lines are lines where the slopes are negative reciprocals. You will learn uh, exactly what I mean when we do some examples, okay? You just need to remember that parallel lines are the same, are lines that have the same slope. So if there's a line like so, there's another line like so. This is both parallel, but this ain't parallel because the first one is has a different slope as the second one, whereas the second one is going like this, then like that, and this one is more like this and like that. You know? That's it with the explaining. Let me just actually just remove everything. And let's go ahead. And also, I might share this PDF even though it's so messy. My handwriting isn't the best, but at least you don't miss out on everything in terms of this kind of style of mine. Okay, so let's get into parallel lines and perpendicular lines. I'm probably gonna do one example and that shows both of them, like it has like A and B. I'm gonna do it the same uh, example as him, okay? As Professor Leonard. So yeah, let's write it down. Okay, so I'm back. I've written the the question or the example. Here in this example, they're telling us to find the equation through this point, the first point, which is 6, 7, with 6 is x and 7 is y, and parallel that, making parallel line to 2x plus 3y equals 12, right? So to basically summarize, they want us to get the slope, to get the slope intercept, which is y equals mx plus b, and then to create a parallel slope out of that, okay? Or at least just solve it, get the new y equals mx plus b. And it's actually, I'm saying it, and it looks complicated, but it's actually extremely easy to implement the parallel slope, or at least get the equation of it. So let's get into it, right? Let's write this as answer. Okay. So let's just name the first step is to find slope, right? And everything like this, you just need to find the slope when it's related to slope intercept, or finding the slope, or finding the parallel line or parallel slope. You just got to find the slope first to know what's your m, okay? So this is the first step. Let's write uh, the just write this stuff down, right? So the equation is 2x plus 3y equals 12. Now let's solve for what? We solve for y, okay? So in this equation, let me just check something. Okay, so in this equation, there's number 12 on the right side, so it's much easier to transfer the x over to the other side. Okay, so this is going with this, and then you will have 3y equals negative 2x plus 12, right? And then you would just, to get the y by itself, you divide by 3 and divide by 3. And don't forget, writing this, the division is through all the terms. So it's basically saying like that. So sometimes you'll see uh, this with some of his steps, but that basically means you divide both terms, you know, all terms on each side. Okay, so that goes with that, and then it will give you y equals negative 2 over 3x, right? And then plus, what's 12 divided by 3? It is 4. Okay, so this is basically, you're done with the slope intercept. Okay, you get the slope intercept, of course, you get the slope with it too, which is negative 2 over 3. Okay, rise over run, you know that already. Okay, I should probably have said find the slope intercept instead of just finding the slope, but now you get me. So that's basically the slope intercept. Now you want to find the reciprocal, or the, remember when I said what's the actually, let's find the parallel first, and then we're gonna find the perpendicular, right? So let's find the parallel slope. Okay, let's write that down. Let's just do para slope instead of writing the whole thing, right? Okay, so now that we got what is the slope, which is m equals negative 2 over 3. And we also got the point, which is 6, 7, right? Remember, if you noticed, we didn't use this 6, 7 point, right? When finding the slope intercept. But now we're gonna find the parallel slope. We do need it. Why do we need it? Because we're gonna use one of our equations that is mentioned at the start of the lesson, which is point slope. We're gonna find the point slope. Okay, it literally means what it means. The point slope. Okay, and the formula is, to refresh your memory, I'm gonna write it down. Y minus y1 equals mx minus x1, right? This is the formula. Now you just got to put in and substitute for everything. So y minus, what's y1? Remember here, if you, it doesn't need to mention it, but you can, I don't need to mention it for you guys, but x1, you label them really to make it easier for yourself. So, my bad. So y minus 7 equals, what's m is negative 2 over 3. Then x minus x1 is 6, right? And then you just distribute both uh, to just simplify and distribute it. So y minus 7 is going to remain the same, and then negative 2 over 3x, right? And then negative and negative is going to be positive, so 6 multiplies by 2 is 12. So 12 divided by 3 is 4 plus 4. Okay, you got that, right? And then basically you're gonna do solve for y again. So basically you're gonna plus 7 both sides. I know it even is much more than the actual content itself on the video, but hey, I guess the first video is for everyone. I'm not used to, cramming down my stuff. I didn't plan for this. I just went on a whim and recorded everything that I'm giving you. So 7 cancels, then 7 plus 4. So at the end, you'll get y equals negative 2 over 3x, okay, plus 7 plus 4 is 11. Now that is your parallel line. As you can see from the definition of the parallel line, that the slope is the same, okay? The points may differ, but the slope is the same. And the official definition that I give you, that I'm gonna say it again, repeat it. Parallel lines are lines that have the same exact slope. That's it. Now let's move on to perpendicular lines. Let me repeat the explanation. Perpendicular lines are lines where slopes are negative reciprocals. Why say negative reciprocals? You're gonna find out real soon. Okay. Oh, and one more thing to say. Okay. All of the examples that we've done are mostly horizontal lines. That means it crosses the y. It has the y-intercept in it. So you solve for y, and that's gonna give you the x and the slope and everything, right? It crosses by the y-axis in any point of time in the slope or in the line. Okay, so just putting it out there. Okay, so if we want to find the perpendicular line, okay, after getting the slope, which is, let me just actually write the stuff down, okay, for perpendicular, okay, perpendicular, probably messed up the capitalization on the P, but yeah, uh, let's go for perpendicular lines, okay? It's actually insanely easy to convert from parallel to perpendicular, or from the slope intercept to perpendicular, okay? So what we know is that we have the slope, right? M equals negative 2 over 3, right? Now, here's the thing, in perpendicular lines, when you have the slope and you want to convert it to perpendicular, there's two steps to do really. The first step is that you got to flip where the flip between the denominator and the nominator to where it is m equals 3 over negative 2. But the second step, oops, messed that up. The second step is removing any negative sign. So here's the negative 2. You remove that. You don't want that. So in the end, it's going to be uh, not only flipping, but also uh, removing any negative signs, okay, of the slope if it's negative. And then we basically solve for y, right? Actually, before that, let's write. Uh, yeah. Let's go ahead and solve for y now, right? You got the equation when solving for y. Remember, y minus y1 equals x minus x1, right? You got this right. Now we're just gonna have also the point, which is, let's just write it down here. The point is 6 and 7, in which x1, y1. Okay, and then you just replace and you solve for what is soon to be y. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, so y minus 7 equals 3 over 2. That's our new slope. Okay, it's negative reciprocal. Okay, reciprocal. So 3 over 2 and then equal. Okay, so let's go ahead and complete it. X minus 6, right? And I think I messed up in the explanation of perpendicular, in which I said uh, you got to remove all negative points, but it's negative reciprocal, so that means if there's any negative turns positive. Yeah, that's just more in-depth explanation to it, really. And then you want to again distribute. It's gonna be y minus 7 equals 3 over 2x, and then 3 multiplied by negative 6 is negative 18 divided by 2 is 9, so negative 9. And then you want to plus 7 for each side, right? This is gonna go with this, and then you will have your new, okay, I'm just doing it fast, so yeah, y equals 3 over 2x negative 9 and plus 7 is negative 2. Okay, that's solved. That's you've done well. This is just you've done well. So these are examples. So basically, those two examples are the same as the lecture. And what I want you to do now, if you're reviewing but you're really rusty, as I am, as I'm about to do, because I really wanted to create this video to start off, Um, you're gonna go on, if you don't have a calculus book or anything like that, you're gonna go on online, write just write the related subjects like lines or whatever. Oops. You're gonna go ahead and find questions for finding the slopes, finding the slope intercept, y-intercept, parallel lines, perpendicular lines, and all of that, and solve as much as possible. Make it so it's challenging, okay? At first, make sure you understand the concept by doing new questions that are relatively easy, and then building a little bit and with the difficulty, and just make sure that again you're reviewing, you probably remember everything by just my explanations and the way that I'm solving this, okay? you just got to remember everything and make sure that you do. You don't want to go for an exam or anything like that and just not do good because you understand the subject but you didn't practice it enough for the time. So when you're doing the questions, you're answering the questions, you want to minimize as much time as possible. That would help in the exam, and there's gonna be a time limit for the exam, obviously. So yeah, that's basically the first lesson, the first video. I probably done a really bad job because I didn't write any notes just to help me or aid me in in the explanations of all of that, as well as I just uh, didn't have some sort of structure to my video. Okay, but anyways, remember, I'm gonna zoom right again. Those are the four different formulas. You can write them on a formula sheet or a formula. I got like a small notebook full of formulas. Okay, just going through them, revising them, remembering them, that yes, they're there and that I can use them depending on the situation and the question, right? So those are the four formulas. Slope equals rise over run, m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Point slope is y minus y1, m equals m multiplied by x minus x1. And the fourth one, finally, y equals mx plus b, in which b is the y-intercept and the m is the slope. Okay, here's a quick rundown. I'm just scrolling a little bit for you. You can pause at any time, just check your understanding, try to solve it yourself, just to solidify your understanding, and then going online and finding new questions to go through them. Okay, you got to make sure, man. You just got to make sure that you got not only your understanding right, but minimize the time that is required for you to do those questions. So yeah, that's all. I know I've recorded almost 50 minutes long of footage. I'm not planning to do any editing of that if I messed up in a part or I just didn't. Uh, I either just delete the whole recording because I didn't like the outcome of the video, or I would just post it as it is. Hopefully, you understand. Hopefully, my second, third part are gonna be as simplified as possible with the less or much less explanations. Okay, just give you the key points, do some questions, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and peace out.